I told you all I'd be doing Ask Pam Anything videos, and here we are, the first of many, because so many questions came in. So many. I'm excited to start answering them. Here's the thing, if I don't get to your question today, know that I'm still going back to that first video and other videos and looking for APA questions. Ask Pam Anything. So just because I don't get it today doesn't mean it will not happen if you already posted it. But keep your questions coming. Post them below. Today I am in makeup and workout clothes because I had a show this afternoon, then I worked out, now I'm filming, and then I have a show tonight. And I will probably leave on workout clothes for my show tonight because I am a disaster of a person and I have a good excuse because of COVID. I don't have COVID. I just feel like none of us have to put clothes on Zoom. New rule. So there were a ton of good Tourette's questions that came in, so I thought I'd start with some Tourette's questions today, but I have a lot of years of stories about having Tourette's. So I thought I'd dive in with a few of these questions. I butcher names. I am so bad at pronouncing names. Once I hear it, I know it, but until I've heard it, your name can be Sarah, and I'll look at it and say Sarah? Sarahaha? So please don't be upset. Know that I love you. Know that I value you. Know that I care about saying your name correctly. And know that reading it off paper means I'm going to butcher it right now. So here are a few questions. I'm going to start with a question that I felt in my soul because I've been asked this a few times. It's from Scott Smith. And the question is, and Scott, I hope it's okay if I read this. You didn't tell me not to. This is something I've contemplated as a person with autism. If a cure came up tomorrow, would you take it? No, I wouldn't. It makes up who I am and I like who I am. What about you? If it were for Tourette syndrome, would you take a cure? And that's from Scott Smith. And I love that question because as someone with a difference or disability, here's the thing. There's no wrong answer to that question. If you're someone and you're like, yeah, I'd take it. I'd take it right now. This hurts or this is embarrassing or whatever. There's no judgment. Because if you are a person who has that difference or disability or whatever's going on, whatever you feel is valid. So I'll answer for me. For me, if a cure came tomorrow, I would say no. Because much like Scott said, I love the way that my brain works. My brain is quick and witty and wildly inappropriate. And it also has Tourette's. And I love all of the pieces of my brain. That is not to say Tourette's is not hard and frustrating and challenging and painful, but I've realized that these great things I love about myself, my creativity, my humor, the way I respond on stage, I don't think those things exist despite Tourette's, if that makes sense. So I've come to the conclusion about myself that Tourette's adds to my life, adds to the things I love about myself. I also, just full disclosure, I know there is a surgery they're doing right now for Tourette's. It's called deep brain stimulation. And in early studies, people would also lose a part of their personality. When their Tourette's would go away, potentially their personality would change as well. And I think my fear is if you told me we could right now take Tourette's away, my fear would be like, what other part of me would go with it? And because I don't know for sure that nothing would go with it, I'd rather just be safe and have who I am continue. I've come this far with having Tourette's and being different. I've done so much work to embrace it and love it that at this point, you know what? We're a match. I'm going to stick with it. We partners in life. Great question. So this next question is from, and I'm gonna butcher your name, and I don't want to. Maria. I wonder if it's Anamarja. Soksoka. Was that close? This is a great question, though. The question is, were you once on a date and blinked at the wrong man? And I think she means winked at the wrong man. And I'm sure I've done that. I'm sure I've been with friends and winked at random people. But my favorite story is that I was recently in Penn Station coming back from a gig or heading to a gig, and Tourette's made me wink at a guy. And we locked eyes, and I was like, oh no. But sometimes OCD and Tourette's, obsessive compulsive disorder, and Tourette's like to play ball. So Tourette's made me wink at a guy, and then OCD made me wink at him like 55 more times. And at first I watched him get excited when I winked once, and then I winked 55 more times, and I just watched his entire world implode. I loved it. Next one is from Ruth Carter, And it's, have you ever done something embarrassing and blamed it on your Tourette's when it wasn't the culprit? And the answer is 100% yes. I did that a ton when I was a teenager. I don't think I do it as much anymore. I'm pretty honest these days. It's also really hard to embarrass me at this point in my life. So if I was just working on a joke that like normal people do something embarrassing. They're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I can't tell anybody. And comics do something embarrassing. They're like, yes, I can't wait to tell millions of strangers. So at this point, I don't know that I would blame it on. I might jokingly be like, what? I have Tourette's. Okay. When I would clearly like do something like when I'm trying to drink from a straw, a paper straw sometimes, don't freak out at me, but when I'm trying to drink from a straw and I like it hits my face and doesn't go into my mouth, when I'm with my friends, I'll have no problem being like, Tourette's, I have Tourette's. Probably nothing to do with Tourette's. But as a teen, there were so many times in my life where I would like yell something completely deliberately and be like, I have Tourette's, good luck. Good luck getting me in trouble. But that was a boarding school move. Although truthfully, if I needed to use it again, I might. I try to always be honest because I don't want to be that like kid that cried wolf, that like girl with Tourette's who every time I do something that I shouldn't do, I'm like, I have Tourette's. So I try to save it for when it really is Tourette's so that people don't lose faith in me and I have I trust behind my name. But I see a world where like I'm on a date, I trip. I have Tourette's. Next question gave me feels. I love that these are a great mix of like questions that gave me feels and questions that made me giggle and I couldn't wait to talk about. So this next one gave me some feels and it is from Allison A. And it's, I am a pediatric nurse. Thank you, Allison A. Hero status. I'll go back to reading. I am a pediatric nurse and I have patients with the diagnosis of Tourette's. How can I help my patients see that Tourette's is not always the stereotypical that they see on television? And what can I do to help my patients be successful? So I love this question because I don't think it's just about Tourette's. I think it's about so many things. I like to remind people that if you put me in a room with 5,000 people who have the exact same diagnoses as me, 5,000 people who have Tourette's, obsessive compulsive disorder, and ADD, although diagnosed early in my life, but Tourette's, obsessive compulsive disorder, if you put us in a room, 5,000 of us with the exact same diagnosis, every single one of us would have a totally different story and life experience. And I think that's such a beautiful, amazing thing. But I also think it's something that people need to be reminded of. A diagnosis or a label, it doesn't tell you very much. It doesn't tell you if the person is going to be successful or meet their goals or find love. It doesn't tell you how someone might react to meds or not react to meds or how someone might view their, I mean, there's so many pieces that a diagnosis or a label doesn't tell you. And that's not just for Tourette's, that's for anybody who has something going on or anybody who feels on the periphery, on the outside. So I think reminding people of that like a diagnosis or a label, yeah, it can sometimes feel scary, especially when it's new, but it doesn't dictate anything about you. Like you get to dictate that. And I think that's really powerful and wonderful and amazing. And I also think reminding people that like what you see on the media, what you see on TV is the sensationalized version of everything. So laugh at that and know that it likely has nothing to do with you or what your experiences will look like. Next question. This is a great one. This one comes from, and I'm going to say your last name wrong, Dominique Guzowski? I tried. The question is, the most embarrassing, and I mean straight up, the most embarrassing moment you have had as a result of Tourette's. So hard to embarrass me for many reasons, but like I really think that when you grow up in a body that barks and yells words and flails, like you get being embarrassed out of your system pretty quickly. But also I think as a comic, that feeling of embarrassing is immediately like, oh my God, this is going to go great on stage. But I do have one story. And I'm always hesitant to tell this one because I still feel like I'm in 7th grade again every time I tell this story. But I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it for you. When I was in middle school, I think 6th or 7th grade, my cousin who was hot, shout out Olivia, love you so much, was going on a date. And she decided, or they decided, her and her date would invite another dude along with us. Not necessarily a double date, but like also in my mind, like kinda, you know what I mean? Like pretty close. So we all went to the movies, and I had a tick where I tensed my stomach muscles. And sometimes that meant an accidental fart occurred. How do you say fart and sound classy? An accidental boopsie, a boopsie occurred. Because the universe has a sense of humor, in this moment, the boys were on the outside, me and my cousin were on the inside, so we were sitting in 4 seats in the theater, and the movie hit a quiet moment. A really quiet moment. A quiet moment. And my Tourette's went at that moment, and my stomach muscles tensed, and I let out a fart. It was a little one, thank God. And I was relieved for a moment. But then seconds later, another silent moment in the movie, and this time Tourette's did it again. This time the boopsie wasn't so quiet. It was loud, like could be heard in the entire theater. And I was mortified, so mortified that I took off running. I got in a cab, and I went home. And I never saw that guy again. So I don't think that was my first date, but thank God it wasn't my last, because I'm pretty sure for a while I was like, we are shutting this down. That was probably my most embarrassing moment. Yeah, but like how cool that got that out of the way early. There have been very few embarrassing situations since then. They have happened, but again, I read that as, okay, comedy. This question is, ooh, that was a noise. From Heather Feather. And the question is Tourette's genetic, and has having it impacted your thoughts on having kids? So yeah, studies are still being done about Tourette's being genetic, but yes, it is genetic. My dad had it undiagnosed, but died before he got it diagnosed. But like family videos, very clear. I don't diagnose not family members, but like I love watching family video members and family videos and being like, that uncle Tourette's, that uncle OCD. You know what I mean? Like based on the video. Love diagnosing my family members. So yes, it is more common in boys than girls. Does it ever make me think twice about having kids? So full disclosure, don't know if I want kids. I think that's okay. But it has nothing to do with having Tourette's. I want to be a foster parent. That's what I want to do. Currently, I live in a tiny studio apartment in Manhattan. So I don't know where children would have to live in my closet. I don't know. So probably not yet, but when I'm older, I would love to be a foster parent. I have not closed the door on having children. And when I think about it, like, what a better person to raise a kid with something going on than with a person with something going on. You know what I mean? Like, if my kid has Tourette's, amazing. I'm going to love them for who they are. We're going to find love in it. We're prepared for that challenge. If they've got something else going on, amazing. We're prepared. I'm prepared to love any child, either genetically or if I adopt or if I foster. I'm prepared for any of that. What I'm not prepared for, everyone asks me if I'm afraid my kids will one day have Tourette's, and the answer is like, no. I'm prepared for that. What I'm afraid is that my kids will be like introverts or have athletic ability. No idea how to raise a child that is an athlete. Like, what if my kid's like, Mom, I'm going to go play basketball? I'd be like, okay, that's terrifying to me. So yeah, like an introvert, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. A kid who's athletic, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But like a kid with Tourette's, a kid with a disability, we cool. I'm prepared for that. That's within my skill set. God, I have so many more questions coming. Maybe I wanted to focus this one on Tourette's because I'm trying to like clump them into groups, but there were about 40 more questions about Tourette's, so I will do another video. If your question did not get answered, I really think I might get to it. I'm doing a lot of these. I won't get to them all, but I'll get to a lot of them. But if you have another one, drop it below with Ask Pam Anything. And if you don't want me to say your name or you don't want me to read the full question, let me know. I will listen to whatever you want. You all do you. You do you. Thank you for asking me questions. I love that you all care. My family certainly doesn't want me talking anymore. Thank you for asking me questions. Thank you for hanging out with me. You can see that the lighting changed in this video so much because it got dark in between starting and finishing, and the window's right here. I'm trying very hard to post every Wednesday and every Sunday. I shouldn't have said that because now you're going to know if I'm a failure at this, but I'm trying so hard. Thank you all for hanging out with me.